2023 was a great year for Intrepid Studios and Ashes of Creation. It continued the fantastic monthly live streams that Intrepid has been putting out since December 2021 with the Unreal Engine 5 reveal. I did a breakdown of most of the streams after each stream this year. I have a playlist link below with each of those in it, and I'll have a link to each official stream as well below. January, we saw the tank showcase. We saw the class resource of tanks, Courage. We saw the combo system that Ashes is using, where some debuffs can be converted to stronger debuffs, which is a very similar combo system as Arcage. The example from the tank showcase showed the inciting strikes ability, putting a snare, soft CC on the target, and tremoring bellow, since it applies snare as well, promotes the snare to a trip, which is a hard CC. In addition to those abilities, we also saw several more. Check the links below for the full list of known tank abilities and my full breakdown of the tank stream. February saw the UI development, the process that they have used to produce the UI, and the progress they've made on the UI. In March, we saw the story arc systems in progress, as well as a preview of the Tower of Carfen dungeon. In this stream, we saw how story arcs and node progression interact with each other, with surrounding node levels tied to the Carfen story arc unlocking. They talked about how specific mobs and resources might spawn during certain steps of the story arc, and we saw a nice preview of the area surrounding Carfen and entryway of Carfen. In April, we got the Mage Showcase. I personally have really liked the direction combat has taken, as I think Ashes looks very similar to Guild Wars 2 in terms of its combat style. The Mage Showcase combat was perhaps the best of all classes we had seen to this point in terms of the combat. This was also the first stream where we saw a lot of skills showcased and not just 3 or 4. I will link my recap video as well as the Mage Skills wiki page if you are curious to see all of the skills. We also got a nice glimpse of gliding, a little talked about feature in Ashes, and another reason players will be able to get around the map much faster than you might think, and even faster than mounts, and reduce travel times. Also in April, there was a community Q&A with Richie SH and Chibi Bree from the Golden Feather asking Steven a lot of questions. There was a lot of good questions in here overall, in my opinion. May saw the first look at an Alpha 2 implementation of an open world raid boss, Tumok the Wretched. This is a level 30 raid boss that roams the Riverlands biome. For a lower level raid boss, it had 3 phases and quite a few mechanics. The wiki link in the description outlines all of his abilities if you want the full rundown, but this stream did alleviate one fear of mine in that Arcade open world bosses were often pretty trivial, which the developers of that game said was because there was a chance for PvP, so they had to make the fight simple. On paper, this one looks like it might not be overly simple, at least compared to what a lower level raid boss would typically look like in most MMOs, which I personally think is a good thing. June saw the Freehold update. This was an absolutely massive update that covered a lot of new information. And for me, this was one of the better streams of all time. Some of what we knew about freeholds changed, with the acquisition of empty freehold plots at the beginning being a bidding process, and players being able to trade freeholds in an open market after they acquire them. We learned that freehold buildings will have talent trees. We learned about the permit process for placing buildings and how you only have so much plot space, so you will want to choose how you specialize your freehold. Freeholds, of course, do provide the best processing, so there is a huge reason to want to own one. We learned how exclusive freeholds would be, with the number of freeholds available being in the low thousands. Which means if Intrepid is able to hit their goal of 50k registered accounts per server, that less than 10% of players will be able to own a freehold. But freehold owners can share access with their family and some members of their guild, which in theory means that most people should at least be able to access a freehold. Between the June and July podcast, Steven made an appearance on the Ashen Forge podcast for their 100th episode. There was a good amount of new information or updates to previous information, and this podcast format was more of a conversational style. Also, between the June and July podcast, Steven made an impromptu appearance on the Tangents of Creation podcast hosted by Jamie and Annie Chaos. We again got some interesting tidbits of information out of this, and the impromptu nature of it showed a different side of Steven which we do not get to see very often. Link to that is below. July saw the second look at the Ashes of Creation Cleric. The previous stream was in early December of 2022. We saw another class resource for clerics, Divine Power. Divine Power is built by casting certain spells and can be consumed to instantly complete the remaining cast time of any healing spell currently being cast. And we again saw a pretty good sized kit for the Cleric, which again, like the Mage, was nice to see quite a few spells in action. And then August was a very highly anticipated stream. It was the first look at nodes in Ashes of Creation since Alpha 1. Like the Freehold stream, it started with a slideshow followed by an in-game demonstration. This particular showcase focused more on the mayoral aspects of nodes. Nodes are a highly complicated subject, and the developers have stated that nodes will require multiple streams to showcase. So expect to see more node streams in 2024. Between the August and September livestream was the Discussion Rounds 6-year anniversary podcast hosted by Yokai. This was a different look at Steven, as the format was more of a conversational approach similar to the Ashton Ford podcast. And again, we got some new information out of this Q&A. September, we saw the first look at events. The event showcased was a very straightforward wave event. October saw the first look at the Alpha 2 Caravan system. This is another huge system in Ashes and was another very long and information-dense livestream. We saw the process of loading a caravan, adding components to it that increase its stats, and then choosing a summoning location for it and moving it to another node to sell your glint commodities for a profit. Glint commodities are what was once called hunting certificates. Glint drops from mobs, and you can use that to buy commodities that can only be transported via caravans and increase in value drastically when you take them to another node. Between the October and November livestream, Intrepid hosted its annual 24-hour Extra Life livestream where they played a D&D game, and there was a Minecraft competition involving devs and Ashes content creators. Intrepid raised over $77,000 for Rady's Children's Hospital in San Diego during this event. And in November, we saw the first look at another massive system in Ashes, the Artisanship system. We saw gathering, processing, and crafting used to make a new sword called the Nightblade. There are 22 professions in Ashes, and one change they made is that players can now be a Grandmaster in any two regardless of the artisan class they fall under. It used to be you could only be a Grandmaster in any two within one artisan class. Each profession has its own skill tree, not something you usually see in an MMO. To move up to each tier of a profession requires the completion of a certification quest. When crafting an item, there are multiple optional components that can be added to increase the rarity of the item or to change the stat block of the item. In addition, there's something called Recipe XP, which can unlock sub-recipes as you complete a recipe craft multiple times. This is one way to acquire new recipes. Players can also acquire recipes via all the ways shown on the screen. Crafting is looking to be very complex in Ashes, and of course, since crafters create the best gear in the game, it is a very important system. December rounded out the year with another archetype showcase, this time the Ranger. We saw a pretty sizable kit this time with a good mixture of AoE abilities and different single target abilities that can be used as openers, executes, or other different situational uses. And we saw the Hunter class resource called Marks and Hunts, which are player buffs or target debuffs that enhance the Ranger's abilities. 2023 also saw the return of Steven Discord leaks in a very big way. We got a lot of new information from Steven this year in the Discord. If you're curious, just go to the official Discord and search the search history of StevenJS and just start reading. We also got a new leaker, Corey Rice, who goes by Quaternion Slurp on Twitch, and leaked a bunch of information to Vladis on his stream. And I even had a few things leaked to me in one of my very rare Twitch streams. And 2024 is looking to be the best year yet for Intrepid, with Alpha 2 starting in Q3 and spot testing before that. With that, guys, I'll leave you with a trailer that dropped recently as a teaser for Alpha 2 on the new launcher. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in 2024 and Alpha 2.